corrupts this innocent guy, and I loved it. Hi wonderful people, and welcome back to my channel Book Craves. I am Giselle. What's up, where's the scene? How are you going? What book have you read lately? Listen, if you have not read anything good, then you have clicked the right video, because in March I had a fantastic read. I also did a lot of heavy reading, so I read books that had over 2,000 pages, other books had 800 pages. I did a lot of hefty reading, and I am going to share what I read with you today in my March wrap up. With the amount of pages that these books contain, I read close to 1 million words or more. So if you want to know what books I read, then keep watching. If it's your first time here, welcome. We talk about romance books here, all tropes, all genres. So if this is something you're into, subscribe, yes. And those of you who have subscribed, thank you. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I love reading some of the books that you recommend. Let's get into this video. In the beginning of the year, in January, I spoke about books that I am highly anticipating, but I was anticipating book 2, thinking I could have read it as a standalone, but I couldn't. So I had to read book 1 in order to dive into book 2, and I regret nothing. This is the series that I'm talking about. Yes. This was my first time reading anything by Sarah J. Maas, and she's a good author. Like, I love the world that she created in Crescent City. I really enjoyed the characters, Bryce and Hunt. I know a lot of you out there read House of Earth and Blood, and I'm just here to let you know that book 2 is even better than book 1. Oh my god, the tension between those two, y'all. Book 1 is a slow burn. It also begins everything that happens in Crescent City. It starts off everything in terms of the mystery surrounding Bryce's best friend Danica, all that she uncovered before her and her friend's untimely death, everything surrounding how they get their powers, how their powers are sustained, everything leading from the time they're born to the time they do the drop, when they come into their powers, as well as when they die and where their powers go to. Like, all that mystery and adventure and action, I am all there for it. And I think that is why I enjoyed this story so much. The way that things were discovered, the way that things were revealed, and it took Bryce, a half human and half fae, to discover all of this. I am highly anticipating book 3 release. I kid you not, I'm going to be in that bookstore, and these are one of the books you just need to have the physical copy of. You just need to have this on your bookshelf. You just need it. You just need it. Another hefty book that I read this month. It has 2,153 pages, if I'm not mistaken, is Savage Bloodline, a limited edition. And this book I have mentioned in my March TBR. I was really excited about this anthology, and it did not disappoint. Y'all, I read every single story in that anthology, but I do have my favorites, right? It is a BWWM mafia romance, and it is written by authors like Kenya Wright, Kita Kendrick, Sage Young, and I'll put up other names. I can't remember all of them right now, but it's roughly 18 different stories in it, and 6 are my absolute favorite. So you get various tropes in this book. You had childhood friends to lovers, you had fake relationship, you had enemies to lovers, you had a workplace romance, you had a nanny and boss romance, you had second chance, you had an arranged marriage, marriage of convenience. You had so many different tropes, so there is something for everyone in it. And I just love that. So you also had a fairy tale, a Cinderella retelling in this anthology as well. These are the ones that I highly suggest that you read. First of all, Enzo. So Enzo, he is the boss. He is the Don. And his story begins in the prequel. So you have to read a prequel. And then his story is actually the last story in this book. And I absolutely loved it. Loved it. Like Enzo, reading Enzo's story, it was worth the wait. I also love Primo. He's one of those individuals that have like a tortured soul, you know, those tortured characters. And it's because he's the assassin for the family. So you know, and then his upbringing wasn't all that great. But I absolutely love the heroine in this one. They were like an equal match because she was one like, guns blazing and thing. You know, I love badass heroine. And in Primo and Enzo, those two, the heroines were badass. They would kick ass, and I love that about those two stories. Adriano's story was different in the sense that he had amnesia, and his amnesia basically started right after his wife decided to leave him. Now, this is the childhood friends to lover trope that I mentioned earlier. And so when she returned, realizing, you know what, she can do it, she found out that she was pregnant, so she returned to the family, and he had amnesia. And so she now had to run his portion of the organization. And she did a fantastic job doing that. Love this story. Then we had Carmen. Oh my goodness. Carmen, he was incarcerated. And when he comes out, he falls in love with one of their associates' daughters. Oh my God. This one had so much action in it too. Loved Carmen's story. I also enjoyed Sebastian, where he fell in love with his nanny. So his wife died. He has twins and he needed to hire someone to take care of them. He also had a girlfriend at the time. Listen, this story was so entertaining. Giovanni's story is also a workplace romance. However, this is like the boss secretary romance, and it is your grumpy sunshine trope. Who doesn't like a good grumpy sunshine, right? Who doesn't like when that grumpiness is just chipped away piece by piece by piece by piece? Like, who doesn't love that? And the last one that I really enjoyed was Vito. And this has your like damsel in distress type of trope. Love this story. So these were my favorite ones out of the 18. Enzo, Primo, Vito, Adriano, Sebastian, Giovanni, and Carmen. Can't forget Carmen's story. Y'all, I also read my first Penelope Douglas book. Can you imagine that? Finally, I read one of her books. So I read Falls Boys, and this was one of my anticipated releases for 2022. And I loved it. Yes, Giselle loved it. False Boys is book 1 in the Hellbent series, and it is also a spin-off of one of Penelope Douglas' other series. You don't need to read that one in order to read the Hellbent series. I didn't read it, and I was able to follow along. So we meet Hawk and Arrow. Hawk, he's on the good side of the track, the good side of the river. His family has money. He has everything going for him. His life is all put together. He's heading off to college. He plays football. He has everything set. Then we have Arrow. She is on the opposite side of the river, and she has nothing, absolutely nothing going for her. She is part of a gang. She's basically their debt collector. She goes around and collect their money. She dropped out of school. She's also concerned about her 2 younger siblings because they live with their mom and their mom doesn't do anything for them. She's scared that Child Protective Services will come and take them. And then their paths cross, and they are absolutely what they need for each other. Hawk has issues that he's dealing with, and she just needs someone in her corner. She just needs someone that will have her back. Listen, the build up. the tension, how things unfolded. I loved it. This is one of your bad girls and good boy. You know, the opposite. And Arrow just corrupts him. She corrupts this innocent guy. And I loved it. I just loved it. I gobbled down this book. This month I also read One More Night by Akridge. This is a second chance romance. In this book we meet Lou and Declan, and basically Lou and Declan, they were high school sweetheart. However, Declan's dad passed away and he was having a very difficult time dealing with it, and so he decides to follow in his father's footsteps in the hopes that he's going to feel closer to his dad. And so he breaks up with Lou. Lou has no idea why he left, why he just broke ties and just disappeared. And now many years after, he's returning and he realized that he wants to get back with Lou, and he's hoping that she hasn't moved on. And Lou, she just wants to know, listen, why did you up and leave me? I really enjoyed this story. I love the tension between the characters. I also read Kickoff by Kayla, Claire, and this is the first book in the Gods of Campus series, and this is your fake relationship. Now I'm really getting into this fake relationship. It's just so entertaining seeing them like fall for each other. This is also a college romance, and we meet Zoe and Alex. And Zoe, she is so wrapped up in a guy named Zeus, and Zeus is just using her, and he's declaring he's in love with someone else and that he has a girlfriend. And so she decides to hook up with Alex in hopes of winning him back. Alex, on the other hand, he has a lot of crap going on in his life, and this is what intrigued me. He has to be a parent to his younger sibling because he has to show his parents that he has changed and that he is more mature now and he's more responsible now. Really enjoy this story. The cover threw me off. I didn't think that I would enjoy the book as much as I did, but it was good. Loved this one. This is the last book that I read this month. I didn't read as many books as I usually do, only because, did you see how hefty those books were? But anyhow, this book is These Dirty Lies, and it is written by L.A. Cutson. First time I'm reading a book from this author. It is also a duet. So in this book, we meet Nix and Haley. They grew up in trailers, having to fight for every meal. You name it, they had to do it in order to survive. And Haley's mom died of a drug overdose, and so she never knew who her dad was. And when she died, she was there calling for Nix, because Nix and her, they grew up together. They were best friends. They were very close. However, they weren't like together as a couple or anything like that. And so she's calling him, telling him to come. This is the worst day of her life. And he never answers his phone. And so when her father shows up, her father is on the opposite side of the track of wealth. But anyhow, I'm talking too much about this book. I'm giving away too much. But I will say that Haley did not cope well. And she had to live with her dad. And so she had to cut ties with all her friends, or whatever friends that she did have, on the opposite side of the track. So now she's living in the rich area and Nix is in the poor side. And Haley's dad tried to keep them apart. But the issue is not so much with Haley and Nix. It's with Haley's brother. And things are about to take a turn for the worse. So I need to read the Duet. That brings me to the end of my wrap up. This is everything that I read this month. Didn't read a lot of books, but I did read a lot of words. I know a lot of you out there read a lot in the Crescent City series, House of Earth and Blood, and I'm just here to let you know that book two is even better than book one. If you have read book 1 and book 2 or only book 1? Comment down below. Let's talk about this book. I really want to start talking about this book. We probably need to go live and talk about this series on a whole. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you will know when I upload a video. See you in the next one. Bye.